we've looked at the first goal, we've looked at the stats of the game, but I think for me, an area Liverpool really needed to get more from, and have needed to get more from for a while now, is the wingers, Josh.
Yeah.
And I can see by your reaction that you agree. Mo Salah, I think I'm ready to say he has fallen off a cliff. I don't want to say it, but the evidence has been there all season long, hasn't it, really, that it doesn't look like we're going to get the best of Mo Salah again, and that makes me really sad. Don't like seeing the decline of a legend, and Cody Gakpo I don't think has been, although I do, and I did say going into this game, I do think functionally he's playing it a little bit better at the moment and trying to get to the byline to get crosses in, which we're winning corners from and scoring goals from. I just don't think we're quite getting the same output as last season, maybe, and that might be because he's played more minutes this season, comparatively, because he was sharing the load a little bit with Luis Diaz. Maybe he was just a little bit fresher last season, or whatever. But I do think, with Yan Diomande being linked, obviously it's probably more unlikely, but Michael Olise being linked, it looks like these are areas that Liverpool are looking to improve upon in the summer, and they need to.
Yeah. I moved pretty early on Salah, and people are probably aware of that. Yeah, because I got passed for some of it. My main gripe with Salah initially was the interview, but the reason I kind of backed down slot almost is because I think up until the point at which he got dropped, I don't think he'd done anything to be deserving of an automatic spot. Far from it, and I think it's still largely the case now. I stand by everything that I said in terms of, he's not quite the player that he was. The thing is, though, with it, I'm not that angry about it or that bothered by it, because in Salah's case it's normal. He's 33. He's absolutely done his job at Liverpool when it comes to the number of goals, the number of assists, the trophies he's delivered almost single-handedly in some cases. If Salah is now suffering from a decline, it happens, and it's unfortunate that it's happening on Liverpool pitch. Unfortunate that it's happening in the Premier League, and I think the decline would look less stark if it was somewhere else. I think the fact that's in England, the Premier League's so athletic at the moment, it looks a bit worse than it actually is. That's just an unfortunate one for me. But I'm not having this argument that Slot isn't unlocking him tactically. I think how you can watch Salah this season and think that the problem is he isn't being unlocked is beyond me. I don't know how anyone can possibly look at his execution this season and think, oh, that's a tactical problem now. I just don't think he's the same player. But as I said, that's okay. That's normal. Age catches up with everybody. I have a bit more of a problem with Gakpo on the opposite side, because Gakpo was supposedly much closer, at least, to peak age. He's been given the shirt this season. He's kind of been empowered this season by, Luis Diaz leaves. We don't need to replace him. We've got Gakpo, full international, 6'4", but he's not delivering. So combine the pair of them on both sides, and you're not left with a great deal when it comes to product, when it comes to threat. I said on my podcast earlier in the week that the idea of a winger in the modern game, especially for Arne Slot, they have to be a mismatch for whoever they're coming up against. The idea is there's supposed to be a mismatch, and that's supposed to destabilise the other team, because they're like, we're trying to just defend his units here, but he's too good for him, and he's too good for him over there, so we need to double up over there, which means we're leaving one man free over there. But it's not the case this season. So, especially against low blocks, you've got no answers at all from the wide guys, because they're relatively easily managed. I think one of the ways you can get around that, and I'm sure you're going to touch on it, is by overlapping and underlapping. When it comes to fullbacks, they're not doing it as much as I would want them to do it. That's a system thing that you can highlight on the slot and say, why aren't you telling Kirkers to go? Tell him to go more. Because that would then, rather than highlighting the dribbling ability of Gakpo, you would mask that a little bit, and you'd cause problems out wide by overloading the opposition fullback, if you can do it ideally. I don't think we did enough of that against Wolves, but generally speaking, we need new wide guys, 100%.
Absolutely, and we will cover the fullbacks in greater detail. We'll have stills from the match and stuff like that. While you were talking, it was a little bit later on in the agenda, but I do think it's pertinent now. I've got on my screen in front of me. I'm just going to zoom in a little touch as well here. I've got Salah on the left-hand side last season and Salah this season, and these are the successful dribbles. So he was successful 44.6% of the time last season. He's successful only 22.6% of the time this season, which is a huge drop-off in terms of successful dribbles for Mo, isn't it? His ground duels won has gone from 40% to just under 30%. His aerial duels won has gone from 39% to 33%. He's losing the possession more, albeit not too much more, but still more than last season. So these are all numbers that sort of say he's not that one-on-one guy anymore. He's not going to beat you. And there's times when I'm looking at the left-backs thinking every left-back's had a great game. Have they really, Chris? Have they really? Or is the right winger not playing particularly well? And I just wanted to move across then to understand. And I think this is important for me, Josh. I've got on my screen in front of me, you know, Mo Salah's shots from the 24-25 season. The green ones are goals. Look at the area the majority of those goals come from. You know, it's between the sticks, out to about the penalty area. You're probably looking at most of his goals from that season. There's a few around that sort of left side of the right side of the penalty area as you look down on it. If I then bring up this season's and take away last, he ain't even having shots in the area of the field that he scored most of his goals from last season. And that's replicable, by the way, through all the seasons if you want to go back and take a look. But this season, he's just not in there. And so it prompted me to do a little bit of research, and it prompted me to create a couple of bar charts for you, to be honest, mate.
Okay.
And I really think I found something that explains maybe what's going on. Now, if you can bring up the shot locations and goals per 90, please, comparing the last two seasons to this season. So the first bars, grey bars out of box shots, red bars penalty area shots, blue bar is the 6-yard box. You go 23-24, 24-25, 25-26. Now, 23-24, he was having 70% of his shots inside the penalty area with 10% more inside the 6-yard box. 19% were from outside of the penalty area. Last season, Slot's first season, he reduces the shots from outside the box to 8.5%. He increases the shot inside the box. That 10% has basically been robbed from out of the box and been thrown into penalty area. And the shots from inside the 6-yard box, about the same, 10.8%. This year, 1.9%, a drop-off of nearly 10% of shots inside the 6-yard box, with penalty area shots remaining exactly the same. That 10% has been robbed from Peter to pay Paul, and Peter, unfortunately, is in the 6-yard box, and fucking Paul stood on the outside of it. And that 10%'s just gone straight into, he's now having nearly 20% of his shots from outside the penalty area. That's not what Mo Salah is. It's not what he's been. He is a fox in the box. Yeah. Whether you like it or not, his starting position was different. And look what it does to the goals per 90, Josh. We go from 0.63 to 0.77 last season, and we drop to 0.25. 1 in 4 is not Mo Salah.
No, it's not. I think one thing that's worth highlighting, though, and an interesting debate to have with this sort of thing, a lot of people, especially, you know, fans of Salah, would be listening to that and thinking, but that's not Salah's problem. That's a team thing.
There's factors.
Yeah, I'm a bit torn when it comes to that. I agree that Liverpool this season offensively are not as good as they were last season or the season before or whatever, and they're not creating tap-ins for Salah as much. But at the same time, I still struggle to watch him and think, yeah, I just don't think he's got that ability to create separation anymore from his man and get a shot off. Like if we use my NDI quickly, so this is what you've just got up before. So what you can see there are Salah's shots in the Premier League this season. But I want you to specifically take note of how much red and how much purple there is in there. Because red shots and purple shots are blocked and missed.
Missed is red.
Yeah, so you're getting shots blocked and shots missing the target entirely. And there's a lot of them. The blue shots are the shots that was saved, right? And I'll highlight them alone. There's not many. There really isn't many. The bigger problem has been
misses and blocks.
The execution of the shots have been either missing the target completely, sailing over the bar, or not being able to create that separation, and they get blocked. There's some low block stuff in there with Liverpool, of course, but I don't think Salah's decline this season, numerically and everything, is that tactical. Personally, I just think I'd probably be saying it is more tactical if this was 5 years ago. But the fact he's 33 and just watching him, I just think it's a normal decline. He's finally coming over the hill, with far later, by the way, than the typical winger. Wingers peak, around 25, 24, something like that. Salah's 33. So for him to be coming down the hill now is a testament to his ability, and he's still a freak of nature and all that. But it happens to everyone eventually, and I think it's happening now. It's just unfortunate that it's happening on Liverpool's watch and on Arne Slot's watch. Because if we had quicker, more productive wide plays this season, I think we'd be higher up the table.
Absolutely. We're going to do the same exercise next with Cody Gakpo as well. So this is 24-25, and you can see that I was on the stop, but we're fine. I'll move on to this. We can see here that his shots have changed again slightly this season. His out of the box stuff has gone up from 24% to nearly 1 in 3 of his shots are from outside the box now, Cody Gakpo. And that's been robbed essentially from last season's penalty area stuff. So that's come down to 56%. And the penalty area stuff, is the 6-yard box stuff, has stayed around 10%. But his goals per 90 has come down as well. It was 0.44 2 years ago, 0.46 last season. It's dropped to 0.27 this season. So, I don't know, for me, Josh, there is an element of we are playing with a proper centre forward now. We're not playing with a Luis Diaz who's dropping off and all that type of stuff. So I think that might have a tactical impact on both Salah and both Cody Gakpo. But I also see Salah's starting position here a lot more as well. And that inability to get past this man definitely plays into it. So there are multiple factors for me, but I just wanted to go back over to Understat and just look at the same thing. This is 24-25 for Cody.
Yeah.
I'll zoom in a little bit. Look at the goals again in the 6-yard box. That's where they were sort of coming from last season. I'll just put the result on goal.
This last season, is it?
This is last season. So you can see a couple from outside the box. I wouldn't say two goals in a season from outside the box in the Premier League should empower you to have 1 in 3 of your shots from outside the box, if I'm being honest. It's not like you've scored 5 or 6 or 7 of them, and they're not just inside the area either, where you're taking them from in the penalty area. His goals are coming from the 6-yard box.
Yeah.
So that's where you sort of want him to get those goals. And this season, it's kind of a similar story, to be fair, but I'll put everything on. And you can see it all, and again, much like Salah, look how many blocked shots there are.
There's tons of block shots, and that's because a lot of opponents just kind of know what he's going to do. And I mean, if you just highlight the blocked ones alone, I think that's interesting in itself. Like, they're all from very similar areas. Gakpo is known for cutting inside and having a go, but he's cutting inside into traffic all the time, and it's resulting in the same blocks happening all the time. If we just highlight the saved shots, like we did before with Salah, again, there's not many at all.
And they're all from the same area?
Yeah. But it's not a case of goalkeepers being...
Not compared to his misses.
Like exactly, yeah. There's a lot of misses in there. So it's the same story on both flanks, and it's going to work the team especially when Arne Slot's the manager. It's literally what he aims to create every week.
So, and it's a similar story on the stats. I showed the 20% drop off or whatever in the successful dribbles for Salah before. There was a drop off in Cody Gakpo's successful dribbles as well. And, I think for me, we need to address this sort of situation. And, we need to either address it with more support from the fullbacks, like you mentioned, or we need to address it in an upgrade of the player. Because until we get faster, trickier one-on-one dominant wingers, we're not going to get teams doubling up on Mo Salah and making it easier on the other side. And the fact that we've lost the big switch as well, I think, hasn't helped us. There's so many things that are kind of wrong, but I thought that was an interesting sort of talking point for Salah and Gakpo. We're going to move on now anyway. We're going to look at the fullback usage, I think, next, Josh. That was a clip from the deep dive. To check out the whole show, simply download the Redmen Plus app or click the link in the description.